the one thing I really like about you is the people management side. I think I have seen managers who are like on your face also always and trying to dictate a lot of things. But you are somebody I've seen who will get things done, maybe in a way which is like not regular like I see from a manager. I don't know how to even call it. Maybe you manipulate people.
Well, it
So,
could, it sounds negative, but it's not
yeah,
really.
in a good way, maybe. It's negative, but
Yeah,
it's a
I
good
guess
way.
I would like to think about it as bringing out the best in people.
Yeah.
If you call it manipulation, then probably that's the way to put
But
it. But
like I said, in a good way, because I had started following because I pick up a lot of uh, good parts from a lot of people and then try to bring it in my way of working. I won't call leadership and everything because I'm a transform leader, maybe looking at you or even my previous bosses, right? So somewhere you have helped me transition into maybe an IC into a leader unknowingly. And now I realize, maybe once you introduce yourself, your journey has been the other way around now. Like you've been a leader and then you're transformed yourself into maybe a individual contributor, but looking at the strategy of the organization, right? That's what I
yeah, the
understood.
technical strategy and basically looking at taking the company into the domain of autonomous networks now, since I am in the telecommunication domain. The idea is now to take the company into the next phase, which is autonomous networks. That's where most of my time has been recently, and I am transitioning from a people leader, people management kind of role into this role. Um, and I think, but again, it's not that actually you are far from leadership, right? I think you're always, I think if you have spent enough time in the industry and you work with people, still you need to, actually I need to work with people on a day-to-day basis,
Yeah.
right? And I did need to still get work done from the
And that's
engineers.
your core
So
strength too, right?
yeah.
Manipulating.
Yeah, you can call it manipulating, yes. But yeah, I think, like I said, I think it's all about, for me, probably to cover this, just to round off on the people management aspect. I think I really love working with people,
Yeah.
right? And I think for me, it has always been, and I'm a learner as well, right? For example, when I worked with you and when I started a team which on app development, which I had no idea about, because I was always a backend guy at that time when I started a team of, when I built a team of app developers. I kind of lent on the seniors quite a lot.
Yeah.
Like I had to trust the team, and that's how I think you kind of, when I start trusting the team and I learn from them, is when then I realize that what else I can help, right? Because you guys are all technically superior, and I had to figure out a way to get the best out of you without actually sounding like being a manager. And that's where I think the way I like to, like I said, getting the best out of people is always not easy. And I always say this to many people, that being a manager and being a leader are two different things. It's easy to become a manager because in India, I think as soon as you reach a certain experience,
I
people
don't want
start
to code. I want to be a manager.
exactly.
Yeah.
People start looking at you as being a man. Maybe they think that it's like a antithesis, right? Ideally speaking, the best developer should go on to build the best systems and should go on to architect something much more larger than life, right? And innovate for the company. Whereas I feel that in Indian companies we often try to um, like I said, promote people wrongly,
Mm.
place them into roles which, like for example, people manager, and the person who has probably been coding all his life suddenly becomes a manager, manages people, and not necessarily that they are good managers. Some people might be good, like I said, but doesn't mean that they will be good managers, good leaders rather. They
Yeah.
can be managers but not leaders. And I think leadership is all about trusting your people. And I think that when you get that, when you are on a pedestal of leadership, right, you are able to see things which your team cannot,
Mm.
right? And you get access to the executive management, you get access to a lot of other things in the company which your team members are not getting access to, and it's your responsibility to make sure that you balance it out, right? You make sure you become like a wall when required, and
Mm.
you pass on the information as well when required. When the difficult time comes, you protect your team, and the times are good, you actually pass on the
I have
credits to the
seen
team, and
I
that's
have
where.
seen that side of it too. Like I still remember when I was in US, somebody was really troubling me, and then I got a call from you, and then I was more complaining at that time maybe, and then you said, "Don't worry, just focus on what you need to do, and I'll take care of the remaining." Right? This was something also some I why it remains with me is because I was seeing a lot of traits which I can learn. Like how do you make sure that the person is focused on what he's doing, avoiding the distraction. You could have just told anything else, like, or you could have brought the other person and then created a different kind of situation for everyone, but you managed it in a different way. So what I'm trying to come to is that something inherently within you, or you learned it up reading some, because whatever right now you mentioned is very relevant, because I've been reading a lot about what the leadership should be like, where you enable people instead of trying to know everything. If you know everything, you are an IC because you are trying to solve problems for everyone, right? But as a leader, you are trying to make sure that you are leveraging the potential of the people around and then trying to solve a lot of things, right? So is that inherently coming from you, or you learned it up?
I think it's partly, I would say, my personality, the way actually I've been brought up, and the way actually I've seen people around me,
Hmm.
and partly I've kind of picked it up from when I was actually starting off as a graduate engineer, and how my managers kind of influenced me also actually plays a big part.
Hmm.
Because like I said, inherently I'm a person who actually always tries to see the positive side of people,
Hmm.
because I think negative side everybody sees, right? And I think I myself, when I was growing up, um, and when growing up, and I was an introvert as well to a large extent,
Hmm.
usually people never used to
You
appreciate
being
the
an
things.
introvert, I can't.
I was.
I can't.
And I evolved as well, right? And I
Okay.
evolved, and like I said, I think when you actually start to see the positive things in people, and not, like I said, people are never good or bad, it's the situation that make them. And
Hmm.
you need to find a way to see the positive side of people, bring out the best in them. And like I said, when I joined as a graduate engineer in my company, the first company I joined, it was chaotic. It was a very big IT service company, and it was people were recruited like cattle, right? It's like you actually have a training batch which is probably 800, 1,000 in size, and there are so many people. How do you really stand out in such a huge
Hmm.
set of people, right? And when, especially in a graduate engineer, that's where I think my company, the first company, really did a good job in identifying the potential in people, and making sure that they give you enough rope to basically
Hmm.
you can do well. That's what actually I kind of learned as well. So like I said, I make sure that I get the best out of people, of course, and also actually make sure that it's not like I don't really understand the negative side of people. I do, that's important, but I focus on the positive. And obviously I do give feedback. One thing about me also is, I've learned that actually the best way to handle people is being very straightforward.
Yeah.
You got to be very straightforward with them, and make sure that, if you're really, and of course appreciate people as well. I think if you, because like I said, I always had felt underappreciated in my life. Probably that's because,
Hmm.
like I said, I started my job in a very big company. It was really hard to make a difference, right? And sometimes you actually feel that, you've done really good, and you don't get any appreciation. And then I know that feels bad, right? Because you think you've achieved something which is remarkable, but people don't really appreciate it. That's one of the things which I then decided that whatever, celebrate the small victories, right? That's very important. That's where I decided that any small victories in my team, I kind of appreciate, I celebrate with the team, and make sure, people are happy about it. That's pretty much, I mean, I try to keep it simple, like I said.
Hmm.
And if there is any feedback, I directly give the feedback. Me, right? I'm very direct. I really don't
Yeah.
actually hold back on any feedback as
You
well. So
don't really, and also one big thing I also visualize now is that you don't really differentiate between, let's say, a contractor, because I was more on contract, yeah, along with my brother. So you did not really see a difference between, let's say, a contractor, because otherwise, I have seen that I won't call it as stepson kind of a treatment which is given to a contractor, but you are looking again at people and what they can bring to your table, right? So which
That's
is
very
commendable.
it's very interesting point, because I see a lot of people still doing that. When you have hired contractors for a reason.
Hmm.
I think you probably don't have the skill set in your team, right? You need contractors maybe for a specific time.
Hmm.
Um, B, I think you probably don't want to have that person for a long duration,
Yeah.
right? But if you actually don't treat the contractors on par with the permanent employees, you're not going to get the best out of them.
Yeah.
And if they are going to feel isolated, they're not going to again produce the best results for you. And why would you not trust the contract? I mean, I think everybody uses trust in a very wrong way.
Hmm.
For example, even in your case, I think there are some people who probably initially thought that, you know what, this person has to earn my trust to really for me to give substantial project. It doesn't work that way, right? You actually hired a, and most of the contractors we hire are all experienced people coming from with a lot of experience, and they have spent a lot of time in the industry doing similar stuff. So it's nothing about, and you can't afford this term. Like I said, trust is misused quite a lot. If you're gonna spend 6 months with a contractor to give him menial jobs and then assess his capability and then give him a better project, it doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
And you're losing money, and the contractor might also leave. So I think you need to treat them the same. For me, I think a particular engineer is an engineer, right? Doesn't matter contractor or permanent. The relationship that you build are real, right? A permanent or a contractor employee doesn't matter,
Yeah.
and that's important as well.
Yeah, that's a big lesson for me too, because until then, even I was thinking like, now that perception has changed for me too. Like, because again, I think some of the traits I have understood from you, like, okay, you're looking more from everybody, like what best can you leverage from that person, right? But I also know that I've given you a tough time too, uh, because expectation as such from even, because again I had signed up specifically for a purpose, then you were also supporting that, but I think within an organization sometimes it does not work well, and then I think a lot of questions were raised, but you were still backing a lot, which was really comment. I would say that was a real big support system too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the skill sets were real, right? Because I
Yeah.
could see what you are bringing to the table,
Hmm.
and whenever I used to pose actual problems to you, you were always helpful, and you came out and solved them.
I would say my brother more than me, because he was he was bringing in the right kind of talent. But yeah,
But
I
then
could
architecturally,
contribute.
I
Yeah.
think you were definitely, I would say, very well equipped, right?
Yeah.
And I think that was, like I said, I think, and cut to current, right? Because what we were talking about is probably like 7 8 years before,
Yeah.
where AI and Gen AI and everything was not as evolved, right? So I think even now, even after all the evolution which we are undergoing, I think architecture skill set are still, solution architecture and system architecture are still skills that
Hmm.
are still not found in large quantities.
Hmm.
And that's where I think we need such people, right? We need people who are at that level to really come and help solve problems or even build big complex systems.
Yeah, I think even that's what has helped me even now. Like, that skill set, sticking to my core strength, even coming into a leadership, is still helping, because one of the bigger problems that we have is like you have managers, like you said, who are not leaders, because they are there to maybe micromanage, which I think it's very difficult to work with the current gen. Maybe that they are not really looking for somebody who needs to manage them, but yeah, work along with them is what they are looking for, right? So